In our final chapter, we'll look at the basics of rendering. The first thing I want to cover is your choices for renderers in 3ds Max. You've got 4 different options for production rendering. The first is the legacy Scanline software renderer, and that is the oldest one in the group. It's a fallback position in case some of the other options don't work for you. You might need it to export to another application that only supports legacy materials. The Quicksilver hardware renderer uses your video hardware or your graphics card. Quicksilver is primarily for draft renders, but its quality is getting better and better all the time, and in some cases it can be good enough for production output. The Autodesk Ray Tracer or ART renderer is useful for compatibility with other Autodesk applications. It's a common software component of multiple Autodesk programs, such as Revit. In 3ds Max, the default renderer is Arnold, an advanced global illumination engine. For most visual effects and animation projects, Arnold is your best choice. Let's look at these one at a time. First, the Scanline renderer. As I mentioned, it is the oldest one, but because of that, it's fast and simple to set up. However, it's not physically accurate by any stretch of the imagination. The legacy Scanline renderer uses a completely fake lighting model, and therefore it's very difficult to get photorealistic results. It has basic features, but those features are no longer being developed. It's reached its end of life. But it's still there in case you need interoperability with other similarly antiquated applications. The Quicksilver hardware renderer uses the video card to draw images, and that makes it a GPU renderer, or Graphics Processing Unit renderer. The speed of rendering is on the order of seconds per frame. But Quicksilver is not a general-purpose GPU renderer. It's not able to execute arbitrary code to do interesting things like calculate global illumination or bounce light. Quicksilver can only do the things that a video application programming interface, such as DirectX or OpenGL, can normally do, such as shade a surface. The rendering quality is somewhat dependent upon the quality of your video hardware. If you've got a lot of video RAM and a more recent and faster GPU, you'll be able to achieve better results. But still, Quicksilver has limitations. Like I said, it doesn't do global illumination, and in fact, it actually doesn't do ray tracing of any kind. Even if you have a video card that is capable of real-time ray tracing, Quicksilver is currently not up to date with that technology. Quicksilver is really great at lighting diffuse surfaces directly, but it can't accurately simulate bounce light or realistic reflections. It is suitable for draft and stylized renderings, and if you don't need ray tracing, it can be good enough for production output. The Autodesk Ray Tracer, abbreviated ART, is a physically accurate, unbiased, brute force Monte Carlo path tracer. That's a mouthful, but what it means is that ART does its very best to reproduce the real-world optics of how light propagates in an environment. And for that reason, it excels at photorealism. However, the developers of ART went a little bit too far, I think, because ART has a kind of perverse obsessive attachment to the laws of real-world physics. If you can't do it in the real world, then you can't do it in ART, which is kind of crazy because a computer can do anything, and very often we do things in the computer precisely because we can't do them in the real world. There's no reason for a renderer to have that kind of constraint, but in ART, that limitation is by design. You can't do anything that can't be reproduced in the real world. You can't do things like turn shadows off, exclude lights from objects, cull backfaces, and so on. So ART is kind of problematic for that, but it's good for quick and easy design visualization. It needs almost no setup time. You've really only got a quality slider and a couple of little switches to throw. The best selling point of ART is that it is compatible with and included in other Autodesk applications. Last, we come to Arnold, which, like ART, is a physically accurate, unbiased, brute force Monte Carlo path tracer. However, Arnold is far deeper and far more powerful than ART. It is not limited by the real-world physics. You can break the rules, disable shadows, exclude lights, render single-sided surfaces, and so on. For a visual effects or animation project, there's really no choice here. You're going to use Arnold. You can't use ART because it ties your hands and makes it impossible for you to do the things that you normally need to do in a CGI environment. Arnold is also much more efficient and more flexible than ART. It renders faster and can do more different things. Arnold has many more features, such as advanced lighting controls and a large library of shading nodes. Really, it is suitable for all applications, anywhere from perfect photoreal to completely stylized. Arnold assumes an energy-conserving physical simulation, which defaults to a photoreal setup. But with a little bit of work, you can get all kinds of different non-photoreal rendering styles from Arnold. Those are your options for renderers available in the default installation of 3ds Max: Scanline for legacy applications, Quicksilver for draft renders, ART for compatibility with other Autodesk programs, and Arnold for high-end global illumination and really all production rendering.